And welcome back to Fourth and Pain, the only pro wrestling show to be hosted by an NFL player and a weight loss champion, Redskins defensive end Adam Carriker, everybody.
Howdy.
What's happening? I'm former wrestling announcer and weight loss champion Chuck Carroll, and this is Fourth and Pain. Be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at Fourth and Pain, and join us each and every Sunday morning, 8 o'clock, right here on 106.7 The Fan, the fastest hour in pro wrestling and pro football. Matter of fact, the only hour on pro wrestling and pro football. But Adam, we're going to round out the show here. It's fourth down, last segment. As always, it's time for Ask Adam. If you ever have a question for Adam Carriker, the NFL player, the Redskins defensive end, am I building you up enough? Tweet him at Adam Carriker94 or tweet us at Fourth and Pain using the hashtag Ask Adam. And literally, you can ask him anything under the sun. Adam, you've gotten some pretty weird questions in your day, have you not?
Oh, I mean, one guy even asked me, other than using a plunger, how do you unplug a toilet? And oddly enough, I actually knew the answer.
That's because you have serious plumbing skills, and God bless you for that. So plumbing, football, wrestling, life, relationships, whatever the case may be, hell, you can ask him about curling. Just use the hashtag #AskAdam. And with that, we get underway. The first question comes from Gary Sinelli on Twitter. He writes, "Hey, Adam, do you think Goldberg is the leader of Aces and Eights?"
I don't, but I think it would be awesome if he was, just because I want to see Goldberg come back. I want to see him wrestle again, and I doubt if that's going to happen in the WWE, so TNA is the next best thing, a very good product in their own right, and if he was the leader, that would be epic.
You know, I would also think if this were going to happen, we may have been given a heads up about it by now. I don't see this happening, but I agree it would be pretty epic. But here's the other thing. He's not going to return to wrestling as a heel, is he?
You make a good point. You make a very good point. I hadn't even thought about that. I say yes just because I want him to return to wrestling. So, yes, he would return to wrestling as a heel, and then he would be the guy that he becomes Sting somehow. He turns on Aces and Eights, and he represents TNA, and he takes over, and that would be what would happen. I'm not very convinced in my own argument, but I'm going with it.
I just don't see that happening. He's not gonna do the crow bit. Come on. All right, here we go. Next question here from Walter _24 on Twitter. Walter24 writes, "What was your favorite team growing up?" And I know the answer to this, so Adam, I'm going to encourage you to tread lightly, my man.
Well, I'll be honest. I'm honest on this show. My favorite team growing up, admittedly, was the Dallas Cowboys. Now, you got to remember, I was a kid who grew up in the state of Washington, and I rooted for the Seahawks. And at the time, the Seahawks weren't very good. They made the playoffs, I think, maybe once or twice while I was growing up there. And the Cowboys were winning Super Bowls like every other year. And I was in elementary school, and I saw Troy Aikman, Michael Irvin, Emmett Smith, all these guys, and I thought that was pretty cool. My rookie year in the NFL, we went down to Dallas, and we played the Cowboys. Nothing really happened during the game. No cheap shots. Some people talked a little trash, but that's just football. I walked out of that stadium that day, looked at the hole in the roof, and I decided that I hated the Cowboys. There was no real reason. I didn't know I was coming to D.C. I didn't know that was the biggest rival. I was still a St. Louis Ram. But I can honestly say I walked out of that stadium that day, and I decided they were now my least favorite team in the NFL. And I can't really explain why, but I can honestly say they went from being my favorite as a little kid to my least favorite present day.
Well, I think that you have just endeared yourself to Redskins Nation even more, and God bless you for digging yourself out of that hole, because that is not an easy one to get out of in these parts. Next question comes from K Tucker EM on Twitter, and he's actually going a little bit front office on you here. He says, "Do the Redskins, should they pick up Ed Reed or Darrelle Revis if they were to come up as free agents or perhaps in a trade?"
I'm not a front office guy, but I hear Darrelle Revis, I hear Ed Reed. We've got good players at both those positions, but anybody they can add to our roster to help the team, whether it's another defensive lineman, whether it's a cornerback like Revis, a safety like Reed, whether it's another offensive lineman, I will accept anybody who can help our team play, and those guys are two very good players, and I think they would just add to what we already have.
I think that you're taking the PC approach at this. I will say absolutely no chance with Ed Reed, a talented player in his own right. But as you and I know, this is a team that is young and skewing younger. I don't see them going out and making a splash, signing a veteran, and a very old veteran, as in Ed Reed. Darrelle Revis, perhaps, but like you said, you think that there's already decent players at those positions. It may be an upgrade, but I don't see Darrelle Revis being a good fit here in Washington under Haslett's system anyway.
Are you calling Ed Reed a has-been?
I'm not calling him a has-been. I'm just saying he's old. I'm calling him old. I said he was a talented player. I did not say he was a has-been. He still is. But I'm saying that the number of years that he can still be productive are limited. That's all I'm saying. Not a has-been, but I think that he only has 1, maybe 2 years left in the tank.
All right, I'm just making sure you're clean, that's all.
Hey, man, I'm treading lightly. And the last question from a very familiar Twitter handle, I believe that this is your wife, A.N.G. Carriker. Ange Carriker, the Pulse's own. Adam, do you think the NFL should have spring practice and a spring game as they do in college?
I'm thinking back to my college days, and nobody enjoys training camp. In college football, you call it fall camp. Nobody enjoys that. I did not enjoy spring practice whatsoever. I hated spring practice. It was this random month of practice from March to April for no apparent reason, and I hated it as much as I hate training camp and fall camp. The answer to that is no. We do OTAs, we do mini camps, we do the NFL version of that, and because guys in the NFL need to protect their bodies because the collisions are so much bigger and so much more fierce, we do the smarter version of a spring practice, so I don't think it needs to be changed whatsoever.
You know what? I don't see the Players Association letting that fly in any sort of alternate universe either. And I don't even think that the coaches would be a proponent of that because, as you just said, it's a matter of protecting the bodies, the guys, because the collisions are so violent during the regular season. It takes a lot of time for you guys to heal and rehab. And these are guys that end the season healthy, not on IR, not on the injury reports. These are guys, that just get the general day-to-day nicks and bruises that come with a grueling NFL season. And so to say, well, take 2 months off, come back, we'll do it again in March, that just isn't going to happen. No way, no how. But if you ever have a question for Adam Carriker, be sure to tweet Ask Adam using that hashtag at 4th and Pain or at Adam Carriker 94, and we will answer your question on the air. And so, Adam, we have about 4 minutes left in the show today.
Real quickly, is that the end of the questions?
That is the end of the questions.
I have a tweet that I wanted to save for this. It's not an Ask Adam, but it's an opinion from somebody, and we spent a lot of time talking about who we think the WrestleMania matches should be, and I hate what they're shaping out to be. And this was tweeted to me by at Firefighter Foley, Jameson Foley, and he says, "Where's Taker at?" And this is the part of the tweet I like. They're pretty much taking a bunch of main events from 2012 and throwing them into one show for WrestleMania 29. All I can say is hallelujah, amen, preach on, preach on. Now we can talk about Redskins.
He gets the gold star tweet of the week that we didn't even know was coming. Okay, you know what? I'm inclined to agree with that as well, especially with The Rock versus Cena 2. The once in a lifetime is actually turning out to be twice in as many years.
Well, plus, it's gonna be Lesnar versus Triple H as well. That's gonna come about.
Yeah, well, you got to figure because Triple H is going to come out. He's going to stand up for Vince McMahon after Lesnar broke his hip. So everything just seems to be so predictable. And it's like you said on the show last week, WWE needs to throw some curveballs in there because right now what they're doing is they're just throwing heat right over the middle of the plate. And it's so easy to see it coming from a mile away.
I feel like we've already read this book.
It's unbelievable. So WWE creative, come on, get creative. Just saying, love your product, get creative.
Be creative.
Get creative. Just a few minutes left on the show now. Adam, I don't know if you got a chance to see the night before the Super Bowl, the annual NFL awards were given out. Quarterback Robert Griffin III, a former 4th and Pain champion in his own right, won Offensive Rookie of the Year, a big to-do down there. He was down there. Kirk Cousins was there. Alfred Morris was there. Matter of fact, Alfred Morris also up for that same award that Robert won. But I found this funny, and I'm curious to get your opinion on this as a player. I found it funny that all the attention, not so much on Robert winning the award, but there were reporters on that red carpet leading into the award ceremony. All they cared about, didn't want to ask him a question. They were simply videotaping him walking, keeping a close eye on that knee. So, Adam, as a player, is that overkill? Is that overkill from a journalistic standpoint?
You want my honest opinion? The answer is yes, but in reality, it's part of the job. You know, everything is overanalyzed, overcritiqued that pro athletes do, and either you learn to accept it or you honestly have to get out of being a pro athlete, because that's just part of what it is. And a guy the stature of Robert Griffin III sustains a major injury. People are going to want to know, how's the knee doing? Is there a twitch? Is there a limp? From what I understand from the people I talked to, he's looking good in rehab, and I can't wait for next year. Is it overkill? Yes. Is that normal? From my experience with the media, the answer is also yes.
Well, I loved what he said in his speech. He said something to the effect of, you're not going to get the same Robert Griffin next year. You're going to get a better one. And so what that translates to me is he's going to be smarter. He's going to get down. He's going to keep protecting his knee so he doesn't go through this. And he's going to prolong his career, and he's going to become the quarterback that Mike Shanahan, Washington Redskins, all of the fans believe he is destined to be. I just love that answer. I didn't know if you heard it, but I thought that was a hell of a way to end the show.
I didn't hear it, and all we got to do, obviously he's going to be better. He's going to make that progression from season 1 to season 2. All we got to do is keep that man healthy, and the sky is the limit.
Hey, you say that the Redskins are going to the Super Bowl, so that would be the limit, my man.
Hey, and I stand by my prediction. We get everyone back. We get everyone healthy. The sky is the limit for everybody, with Robert leading the way.
And on that note, we are fresh out of time. I'm Chuck Carroll, and let me get in a cheap plug for Twitter, because we just did Ask Adam, and it wasn't Ask Chuck, and well, frankly, I'm not above this. At the Chuck Carroll, and thank you so very much for believing in our weirdness.
You very well might be below it. The sky can't contain these biceps. Largest arms on the D-line. Peace out, Fourth and Pains.
On the fourth and fight.